everyone, it's Robin and Miss Mocha, and welcome to our studio. This is my WiP Wednesday video where I'm going to show you the crafty goodness that I worked on this past week. Miss Mocha doesn't stay here very long. Once I start talking, she tends to run away. I hope everyone has been having a nice crafty week. I'm so sorry for those of you that got snow in April. That is just not fun. Hopefully this will be the last big winter hoorah and it'll bring in the spring now. Thank you to everyone who hung out with me on the live stream, and for those of you that caught the replay when I worked on the quarter log cabins or half log cabins. I did decide that while I love this project and the fabrics and it is going to get turned into a tote, I'm not a huge fan of how large this square is. And I think this square for me needs to be a little bit smaller. I was following a pattern by Red Pepper Quilts, which she makes amazing patterns, and her blog is a great fun read. I'll put a link down below in the description box for you. For the quarter log cabin, I used her numbers, and that is linked in the live stream description box. But I was using some of my 30 prints, and I tried to do the thing where you use the exact numbers and everything like that, and then I got myself confused. You get started and you use separate measurements for separate logs, but then as you get going, like the last log you put on in the next log in the next section, they end up being the same length, and I wasn't paying attention to that. I was just happily chatting and sewing. I love chatting with you guys. How's that? A real design board. I had a lot of fun discussing different ways to flip and turn them and figure out how it looks really good. I have to go back and watch the video because there was one layout that I really liked that I'd like to put into the tote bag. Most likely, if not a wall hanging. Either way, I want to try it once in something because I love the way the layout looked. And on the standalone tutorial that I put out Friday morning, so that if you want to make the project again later, you don't have to go back and watch the entire live stream, which is always over an hour and usually hour and a half, 2 hours, just for a little 15 minutes of instruction. You don't want to watch the entire live stream again. Usually once is enough. So I have a standalone one in the morning that goes up at 9 a.m. and then we just chat and talk about whatever we want and sew whatever we want in the afternoon during the live stream. I also showed you to make your logs just the same fabric on both sides and how that will look. I think that one comes out pretty nice too. I think this is really good if you're doing like one of those really giant quarter log cabins. Maybe you're just going to make 4 of these and turn them into a baby quilt. So then you want to have nice big chunky bits of fabric so that you can see the prints. And I think doing the same on both works really great. It works great on a 12-inch block, but on a 6.5, you're really not getting too many fabric choices. So I've got my center square and 3 different fabrics, and it works out fine. And if you're going to put it in a quilt, then I think it looks much different. But on a block on its own, I don't know. It's not. I say it's not my favorite, but 6 months from now, I might make something that looks just like that, because for me, it all depends on the mood I'm in right now. I do plan on continuing with this project. I have a whole bunch of strips cut out. This started as a 3.5-inch square, and I think I'd rather go more to a 2.5 because the strips are so small or so narrow that I think it really over dominates the blocks. I think it needs to be a bit smaller. And I have all the strips cut out, but what I'm going to do is, instead of cutting them to size, because I kept running out of, I don't have enough red fabric, or all I have is these same 2 fabrics because of the way I cut the strips and I didn't pay attention to the directions. Surprise, Robin didn't pay attention to the directions. It happens too often and I have to adjust. That's how I learned how to figure things out and adjust as I go. And in the end, I will have a project that I have designed on my own. I have a whole bunch of these long strips, and I do have a bunch of 3.5-inch squares. So I'll probably use that into some other project, maybe incorporate these into it or something. I don't know. It's one of those things that's going to sit for a while in a little Ziploc baggie. And then one day I'll be like, I have an idea. And then they'll be ready for me. But the strips that are already cut, I will just go ahead and take a long strip and put it on there and cut it to size and then choose my next one. And that way I won't have to worry. I'll have a whole variety of them, a nice little container full, and just go from there. Now, the other thing that took up most of my week was a project that I'm working on with my patrons. This is the Tulip Time wall hanging. I have showed so many people. I'm just so excited about this. If you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen it. Isn't this beautiful? I just love how this turned out. I used my blender fabrics from fabric.com. This blue is from Joann's. This is a white with a crackle look to it, like if you painted old furniture and it got all crackled and aged. So that is from Joann's. This is like 26.5 by 28.5 or something like that. I'm still thinking about how I'm going to quilt this. I just finished this up yesterday. So I love these tulips. And then they have the matching pinwheels down below. I used a nice bright green for the stems and to separate them. I've debated, is this something that I want to keep for myself? Do I want to hang this up every spring? If I keep this, finish this off, quilt it, put a hanging sleeve on it and all that, and I finish it, is it something I'm actually going to hang up every year? Or is it going to end up in one of my little Rubbermaid tubs with my other holiday things? Normally the words are what get me in trouble. This week, it's my tongue. I don't think it's woken up yet. So it's like, is it something that I'm going to keep, or should I quilt it and put it in the shop? And I'm leaning towards quilting it and putting it in the shop. There are other tulip projects that I love just as much, that maybe just one individual or 4 individual tulips in a smaller mini quilt. I might do, like, how they do those artistic pictures when you get the paintings and stuff and it has a set of 3 or 4 and they all go together, or it's one picture that's just been cut into 4 or painted into 4, however they do it. I am not that type of artist. I thought that might be fun too, just have 2 or 3 tulips in a couple different colors, maybe some fun polka dots or something, because this is a little bit bigger than I would tend to hang up. So I think this is going to get quilted and added to the shop. I'm leaning towards free motion quilting it. I was just going to free motion quilt in the white and hope that the colors would pop if I did a nice tight meander. But now I'm thinking to just use a neutral color and free motion quilt the entire thing. I'm sorry if I'm making a lot of noise. I have that styrofoam thing behind me here. Let me remove that. The noise was driving me crazy, so I hope you guys didn't hear it too much. So I think a good meander all around, a nice open one with some loops. Maybe I could quilt a tulip into it if I actually got motivated and paid attention. I need to do a little bit of a free motion practice before I touch this, because I don't want to have any issues and have to take out the stitches and start over. So this is definitely my favorite finish of the week. It's not quite finished, but it is a finished top. Pinwheels were one of my first favorite blocks. I had a few that I really liked to make, and I made a lot of pinwheels. And it seemed when I first started quilting back in early 2000s, the 2005 to 2008, those years when I was doing a lot of blogging and finishing up quilts and stuff like that, it seemed pinwheels were the thing. That every quilt I made, every quilt along I followed, there was pinwheels in it. Anything you did had pinwheels. So I made a lot of pinwheels, and I learned a lot of lessons during that time about bulky seams and getting everything trimmed properly and matching up your points and your seams and doing all of that. Now, I actually have a free floating point. You see that purple one right there? And that orange one? Apparently when I put this green stripe on, it didn't sit perfectly. But I'm only showing you because it's one of those things that, well, of course the blue over there too, that once it gets quilted and everything starts getting kind of scrunchy and quilted up and everything, because I use cotton batting and cotton thread, it tends to get a little bit all crinkly and stuff like that. I love when it comes out of the dryer crinkly, that it's not going to matter. So when you're making a project like this, if you have just the tiniest of oopsie, I watched an Instagram reel. I don't remember who it was. I watched so many Instagram reels. I don't do TikTok, but I do Instagram's version of it. I think with TikTok, you have to watch a lot of videos for them to zone in on the For You page or whatever it's called. And it just, I haven't been on TikTok a lot. I have a hard time finding what I want to watch. So I just keep putting it on my phone and deleting it because it just frustrates me. But I go to Instagram so much every day, so many times a day, that it for me, the suggested ones are just perfect. It shows me knitting, it shows me quilting, and it shows me babies and weird foreign food. So the videos I watch on the foreign food, they're usually across the country. No, they're not across the country, Robin, they're across the world. It's usually something like Indonesia, Japan, China. I'm sorry, I'm not really fluent on any of that, and they never speak, and I don't know, I can't recognize the writing. So they always show like maybe a 30-second or 20-second, or if you're lucky, up to a whole minute of a video, and they're in an industrial place and they're making these really big something or others, and you have to kind of guess what it is. And it's like a guessing game in the comments. And I think they do that just to get more views, more people to comment, interactions and stuff like that. So I'm always wondering, what are they making? But anyway, someone was saying one of the quilting ones, it might have been Quilting Kangaroo, I think I follow, I think that's her name. But she said, if you lose your points in your quilt, it's not that big of a deal. In an entire quilt, if you lose some of your points or you lose every point on your pinwheels, your quilt is still going to keep you warm. It does not matter. If you're not entering it into a quilt show and you're just keeping it at home or you're giving it as a baby quilt, you think the baby's going to be looking at it and go, oh, Robin, you missed a point here and here. Can't lay on this quilt no more. It doesn't matter. It may matter to you, and I don't want to take that away from you, but when you're practicing, or even if you've been quilting for many years, and sometimes things just happen. Sometimes you're paying more attention to one thing and not the other, and you have an extra space. I have a floating point. And for me, the more I look at it here, the more I can see it. But once it's quilted up, it's not going to matter, because we're talking like a 1/16 of an inch. That's all that it is. And since I did it on all four all the way across, it's just a little quirkiness to it. So I'm not going to worry about it. And I get a lot of gruff in the comments about, why do you point out your mistakes? I point them out because I'm not the only one making mistakes. I'm not the only one that sewed a pinwheel this week that lost a point or has something floating, or maybe sewn this one in backwards and had to pick it up. I didn't have to this time. And I say that not with pride or anything, but it happens to me all the time where I have to really pay attention to my pinwheels, because it's so easy to get just one of these half square triangles flipped around the wrong way. So that's why I point out my mistakes, because on this channel, we make mistakes. And you know what? Sometimes we fix them, and sometimes we're just like, it's okay. This is still going to be the most beautiful springtime wall hanging, and nobody's going to care, and half the people aren't even going to notice that I have a couple of little legs down here that are floating. Because if you look at it, again, like I said, they're all the same, so it kind of looks like it's meant to be that way. So if someone has purchased this and didn't watch this video, I don't think they would even notice or even care. We tend to care about our mistakes more than anyone else does. So before I let you go, I wanted to just point out my shirt. I don't think I've shown you this. I don't think I've worn this shirt on a video before. I might have early on in my YouTube career. This used to be one of my most favorite shirts. I found it in the back of my closet recently, and I thought, why don't I wear that anymore? It says, "Bite me," and there is a big Florida alligator, and then it says Pine Island, Florida. We used to live out in Pine Island. My grandparents lived out in Pine Island from, I think, they had a place in the early 70s all the way until they passed away. So they had something out there for well over 30 years. But I just used to always love this, and I think back maybe in the 90s, "Bite me" was a popular thing to say, which is probably why it was put on a t-shirt. This has gotten to the point where when my t-shirts, I wear them so much and I wash them so much, they get a little loose around the collar and they start to get a couple little holes in it. When I hold the cats, they tend to put their claws in my shoulder. So when it gets to that point, then I consider it like my weekend shirt. And even though my weekends here are no different than my Monday through Friday, I still like to pretend like it's the weekend. And on Sundays, maybe I want to just be a bum and wear something with a oil stain or a dressing stain, or I bleached one of my shirts or something, and I wear a pair of comfortable shorts and I wear my bright neon socks. I won't lift up my feet to show you my bright neon socks. Several years ago, my daughter bought me socks where it was purposely meant that the socks you wear do not match. It was a non-matching set. I think I got 6 socks and not one of them would match up with the other one. And I just love to wear them. They are great summer socks because they're very thin, that thin nylon-y type stretchy sock, not 100% cotton stuff. But you're getting all kinds of information again today. Once I get talking, you never know what I'm going to say. But this shirt is going to get retired to the weekend, relaxing, being a bum. I can't wear it to mow because it's black and it is way too hot to be out in the sun with a black t-shirt on in Florida in the summer. But it is one of my favorites, and before it got retired, I just wanted to show you one more time, or for the first time, which leads me to the code word. The code word for this video is going to be island, because this is my Pine Island shirt. Pine Island is an island. It's only a couple miles wide. I think it's 2.5 miles wide, maybe 16 miles long. It's really narrow, that runs along the coast of Florida on the west coast. It's Pine Island's right here and Cape Coral's right here, so we go over the bridge. You go out there to go and eat some really good food, some seafood, some music. As I said, we lived out there for a while. My grandparents lived out there. My father used to be out there all the time, and our name was really big. Everyone knew when you mentioned my family's maiden name of Birch. A lot of people knew the name, whether they liked the name or liked the family or not. There's always those types of rivalry. So Pine Island used to be a large fishing community until they banned net fishing, and they do a lot of the big shrimp boats would come in and they'd go out for swordfish, and they catch all kinds of large fish. So there's those really huge boats that would just go out into the Gulf and bring back all kinds of fish. My kids used to love to go out there when they were younger, and we would fish off of the Mount Lachey Bridge or off of one of the piers and docks and seawalls and stuff, and we would just watch the boats come in. My brother was actually a shrimper for a while, so he lived out on a shrimp boat, and they brought in big nets full of shrimps. There's your Pine Island history in just a little tiny bit of it. If you're looking for the robin colors, this is definitely something that says robin. Now, of course, I do love a lot of other colors and stuff, but this just screams robin right now. The basic types are very similar to the rainbow colors. Your basic, I always call them, I love the Crayola colors. When you get a pack of 8 Crayola crayons, you just have your basic colors, and then you can always mix and match and move up to maybe I'm more of a 16 or 24 pack of Crayola now instead of the 8 pack. But after I get this video edited today is Sunday, April 3rd. In case you're curious, I plan on spending the rest of the day, once this video is edited and starts uploading, I am going to work on Postcard Sunday. So today, the only thing I'm going to work on are postcards. This needs to be quilted this week. I need to work on a tutorial for you guys. I have one more little Easter tutorial. Now, since we made the little carrot treat bag, I thought we would go ahead and make a bunny treat bag. There is 2 versions that I've seen that have been floating around on the internet for many years. One, I just have never been able to master. It's a little drawstring bag. So in case you guys don't do drawstring bags and you don't want to deal with any little fussiness and you struggle with the one, you know what I'm talking about. If you struggled with this little drawstring bag with the bunny ears on it, you know what I mean. But there's another one that has ears on it that's not a drawstring. So I'm going to show you guys how to make that one. And we won't have to worry about casings and drawstrings and where to put bunny ears or anything frustrating like that. Some of the simplest patterns can get us stuck and trip us up, and we just have to move on to something else. But thanks for hanging out with me on the live stream. Thanks for hanging out with me and watching all of my videos. If you're looking for a little bit more, there should be a video here and there, or maybe up here, a little flamingo if you haven't subscribed yet. 73.5% are not subscribed to my channel. Now, how are you going to know when I put out new videos if you're not subscribed? I have those random videos that pop up throughout the week. At least one random video shows up at different days during the week. And the evening at 7 p.m., I have my WiP It Wednesday at 9 a.m., a tutorial on Friday at 9 a.m., and then on the 1st and 3rd of the month, I go live at 3 p.m. So subscribe to the channel, hit that little notification bell, and you'll always know when I pop up a surprise video. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.